Be strong.
Howdy everyone. Welcome back to JimKiDo. I'm Jim. And I wanted to take this opportunity to go through the build planner process. So working with the build planner, especially in the beginning, is super important. It's going to keep everything in line and organized for you so that you can start off without a whole bunch of issue. Alright, so jump in here. And this will also recharge me. And if you notice, in my HUD down below, I've got some basic pieces set up as hotkeys. So I've got the engines. If we move up to here, you won't be able to see that, but now the engines are on. See, they are now on. So let me, since these are the beginner tools, they are slow. Now, actually, now that I think about it, what I do want the conveyor sorter. So what the conveyor sorter will do is the conveyor sorter allows you, if you see where that arrow, if you see that chevron is an arrow pointing in the direction in which it is going to sort. So in this case, what I want to do is I want to sort this, everything that's coming in from this connector that I want to place here. I want it to be faced up like that. Right. So basically, when I hook up a ship to this connector, what this sorter is going to do is it's going to allow for me to stipulate what items I want to funnel back through this point. And it allows for a certain amount of logic to be placed so that you can manage your resources a little bit better. Makes it a lot easier for when you have things like drilling platforms or construction-based platforms, and also with inside ships. You know, these conveyor sorters allow for you to establish a listing of what you want to pass through and what you don't really want. One more. This. There. Excellent. Now, it will be operational, but it's just shy of the interior plate, and that's the interior plate that it caused to place this. That took one interior plate to do that. So I'm going to left click or left trigger, put that into the build planner. I'm going to click this and put that into the build planner. And then what I'm going to do, now I'm going to hit this button to try and get, so when I left clicked on those two components, if I come back into here and press my key, my left stick in any direction, you'll notice down below in the lower right hand corner there is a build planner menu or display. It's not really a menu. It shows that part of these components are needed. It's not the whole thing, it's part of them. It shows a little open box, and that open box is actually, and you'll see up in the upper right hand corner, a open box and a partially enclosed box next to it. That's actually talking about the size of the components involved. So these are all large block. If you see way in the right hand section up at the title bar, you'll see slightly, it's not as clear as the text, but you'll see a big open box and a partially enclosed box in the right side. Those icons refer to the size of the blocks, the grid size. So you have small grid and large grid. We'll get into those small grid, large grid, but just understand that these are all large grid components or pieces. I guess there still are components. I need to take a little bio break here. Almost there. Staying on target. There's these pieces that still need to be taken care of. So they are in my build planner now. And when you begin, this is actually it doesn't really matter whether it's beginning or after you've been established for a while. This is still a fairly effective way to build things. This is still the best way to do it, the build planner. So what we're going to come into here is, this is going to try and withdraw all the components that the build planner has defined. And see, here it says cannot draw 2 motors. Now, sometimes the conveyor system and the inventory system, you'll get that message if it could not pull everything from one location, whether that was an assembler or that was a cargo container. And so if you hit this button again and it exists somewhere on the system, that you'd be able to go off and go get it. Here it's telling us don't have enough to draw 2 more motors. And if you go back into here, you'll see now we've pulled off enough resources to satisfy one of the items in the build planner, but there's still one other item in the build planner that hasn't been satisfied. So if we come back into here and we say, and we move down to this point, this is actually going to place those components that are lacking into the assembly or the production queue. Now, if we switch over to the production menu option here, you're going to see that the basic planner is the first thing picked. It has the highest priority. There's also the survival kit, but it's the basic planner that's going to end up getting these production queue instructions. We're missing out on some iron, and I don't know. Yeah, we're going to need iron and we're going to need nickel. We want to see if we have, I want to say that this would tell us specifically if we have. If you notice in the stored material, it's supposed to be saying how much is required and how much is available. Now that's saying we have no nickel. I don't know that that's actually true. Here, we'll come to here and see. That's not true. The survival kit has nickel, though it is true the basic assembler doesn't have it, but the basic refiner also has nickel. This is not actually giving us the information accurately. So we're going to go ahead and come back into here on the inventory and come down here, and we're going to go ahead and queue those 2 motors. Now we're going to switch over to here. It's being blocked by this. So if we hold down the right bumper button and then click on the right on the directional arrows, this will actually move this over. Now, we don't have the iron, but we do have the nickel. So here on this side, it's showing that we've got enough of the nickel, but when we were over here, it actually wouldn't tell us. See, it's really kind of odd the way that ends up working out. So let's go off and go pick up some iron. Grab up some iron. Now we're going to have to do something different here. What I'm going to do is I'll park it right here. Come back around. And I'm actually going to pull some of this out of the connector. And I'm going to place this in here. Alright, and that's going to go off and go get processed by the basic refinery. The basic refinery will get processed iron ingots. That will give basic assembler the chance to pull those resources, create the motors I'm looking for, and allow me to complete this piece, and then allow me to hook this up so the rest of the cargo can be stored. There we go. There. Now, I also want to grab let me explain what I just did there. I apologize. So I came in here. So I come into the container and I go over to the production. Now I could go over and just do a search, or I could go and list back down to where steel plates that I'm looking for. I could do that. Or I can go over to production, and I can see how much of the inventory is actually being created. And then if you look down below on the lower end of the menu, it shows hit X for inventory. So if I hit X, that'll actually switch me over to inventory and automatically place basic assembler in as a search criteria. Then I'm going to be able to see everything that is in the inventory for the assembler. Now as the assembler fills up, we'll try and go and move components off to cargo containers, and that's, as a matter of course, it'll try and free up its inventory so it can create stuff. But if you have too many resources in here, notice there's a limit here, 2,000 liters, and there's 2,000 liters here. If either one of these two is filled up, then it won't be able to create anything further. If it needed more resources to make something, but it had too much of, let's say, nickel. If it was all filled up with nickel, but it needed silicon and iron to make something that you had in the queue, it wouldn't be able to make it because it wouldn't be able to accept it. So you'd have to do some routing out of material to make sure that your assemblers are freed up enough so that they can create stuff. And same thing, if this was filled up with items it had created and didn't have a place to put them, then it's not going to be able to create anything further, even if it has the material in which to do so. All right, so I'm going to go and pick that up, and that will allow me to create. Okay, and then there we go. Now, you notice I'm actually holding out both the left and right bumper buttons, and then using my left stick to actually change my camera perspective, whether I'm zoomed in or pulled out. Oh, sorry. Now, I also need to do that to slew my camera around so that I can see what's happening. And now, I gotta try and do all this stuff backwards. There we are. Oh, it's having a hard time. Okay, so when you have a problem like that where you don't have enough thrust and it's not actually bringing you down, if you move forward and backward, it'll actually allow you to maneuver yourself a little bit better. I don't exactly know why it does that, but there. So almost there. We're a little janky there. All right, so now we just need to back up and hook up. There we go. And locked in, and we'll turn off engines. There we go. Now, let's deal with this sorter, because this makes all the difference in the world right now. Here, we're going to say we want to whitelist. So you've got a blacklist and a whitelist. Blacklist means nothing of this sort will pass through. Whitelist basically means only allow these things through. That's the nature of a blacklist and a whitelist. The logic behind all this is really, really simple. The conveyor is only going to do one of these things. So you can have layered conveyors in a system that allows you to switch between whether something is allowed or something is not allowed. And you can strategize a way of ensuring that certain resources make it in one direction as opposed to another direction. In this case, what I want is to whitelist. So you have these items here with the stars. So this is a grouping of items. We can have any number of items specified here, but understand that when you say or, That's all raw resources, to include ice. There we go. Let's double check, make sure I didn't forget anything way up here. Nope. Alright. What we're going to do is turn on drain all. So what this is going to do now is ensure that anything on this side, anything connected up to this side, this is going to pull through and push into the system. Now normally I try to have a container, this going into a container first before going off to the refinery, but I don't see me actually picking up enough on this ship to overload the basic refiner. And if we look in here, we'll see, oh, we forgot stone. Yes, we forgot stone. There was something I was forgetting. Now, I do wish there was a search function here, but there really isn't. You just have to walk it through. There. Now. And now the stone is gone. Ta-da! So, the main piece that I wanted to kind of cover as far as the build planning is concerned, and yeah, we got off on a little bit of a tangent as far as the conveyors are concerned, but the main piece I wanted to cover as far as build planner is that there is the option to build things straight off of the production area. Now, you notice here these are components, and we can go off and go queue up however many components here. The build planner, you know, I showed how to add something to the build planner like this. So that's now added one of those items, and it shows that it's partially built. You can see it's a large block, but let's say I'm planning on building something, but I don't have the resources yet to place them. And what I can do is go in and actually add to the build planner directly from the radio menu. So in this case, I could say, let's add. Now if you notice, they're getting added to the build planner in the lower right hand corner, but they don't have the shading like they've already been partially placed. These are brand new. This part of the build planner will accept up to 8 different ones, and if I try and add another one, I'm going to, if you can hear, there's a little sound buzz saying it, and that's basically showing that it's full. The build planner is full. It will only accept the 8 different items that I placed in there. They could be 8 completely different items. They don't have to be necessarily these simple things. What I can do with those is I can now say, give me these, but it doesn't have them. And if we look here, we'll see none of them have been taken off. We're going to go and queue them up. Come back over here, we'll now see steel plates have been added to the queue. That's how many steel plates need to be built out for the 7.5 blocks, relatively speaking. That's the material that I want to build those blocks out. And I'll use those to build out the rest of this platform. Meanwhile, I'm going to go ahead and place another one here. I have enough resources to go ahead and let's see if it's ready yet. Almost there. Now I'll have those blocks to build this platform out. And then I need to start planning on how to add a full-size assembler and a full-size refinery, because those 2 items are much, much larger than their basic version counterparts. This is the progression of building, though. You'll have enough pieces, you'll find it much easier to go this route than trying to go off and build out a regular assembler and a regular refinery off the get-go when you start a game. Let's see if we're done. We're done. Excellent. Now all we need to do is say, give me what is in my build planner, and if we look down in the build planner, all of those were satisfied. Now, we're going to go ahead and that's enough for now. All right. So we've built that up. Excellent. That's how the build planner works. Now, what I wanted to show was with a regular assembly, you can actually queue up whole components without having to go through and add them directly to your build planner bit by bit. And you can queue up large sections. And that's what you really kind of have to do to build out like one of the larger bases or one of the larger ships for that matter. There's a lot of material that goes into a ship, especially this size. And this is actually relatively a small size ship. It's decent, but it's still small size for a large block ship. So I hope you found that useful. There's a lot that goes into that build planning, and I hope I've given you the basics for how to get started. I hope you found that helpful. If you did, hit the like button. And definitely hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you'll be able to hear about new episodes as they come out. And regardless, stay safe out there.
Be strong.